Hello Jennifer, here is your sewer scope from today's inspection. This is us in the basement pointing out where the clean out is in that main sewer stack. Not uncommon to have it buried in a wall in a finished basement. It's nice that they have an access port right there to be able to get at it. We're in typical cast iron. That just was an inlet for PVC, most likely for that finished bathroom down there. I'm going to turn some water on, get it going a little bit more just so I can clear off my camera lens. It tends to fog up if it's been sitting out in an old cold truck and then coming into a warm sewer pipe. It'll fog up on me. There we go. It's better. So we're going to make a relatively quick changeover to clay. A lot of times in buildings in our area, it's cast iron underneath the building, but then once you get out into the front yard and further on, it turns to clay. Here we go, turning into clay. The telltale sign is the roots that are right there, or are the roots that are right there. You can see the white blob there in the center is paper that the roots are catching and holding on. That's really the big thing. You know, what ends up happening is as the roots grow in, they'll start to grab stuff and create a backup. It'll basically slow the flow of water down, and then if it gets bad enough, obviously you're going to create a dam, and you're basically going to start to have backups. As sewer lines go, I would say that this is on the very dirty side. Probably hasn't been cleaned in a long while. It's holding roots. I mean, just the extent of it right here, growing in on both sides up until this PVC section. This is probably a repair section that was cut in at some point. There's potentially damage in the line, and they dug up and put in this section. Where it starts is hard to say. Most likely right there would be my guess. Eventually I'll jump over this and we'll get a little bit further along. That's an inlet. It was probably a clean out that they cut in. We go underwater. So yeah, so that's most likely a clean out that they cut in just so you can access the line on the outside would be my guess. Going underwater here, generally not good. Most likely there's roots on the far end of this length. That's again creating a backup. The other option is, or the other possibility is, that the pipe is sagged at some point at one of the connections. All right, so yeah, we're here we are at the other end of this. So a fairly decent run underwater, potentially 20-ish feet or so. It does get a little clearer on the return trip, just because my camera head does act to kind of push things along or open things up a little bit more. Not necessarily what we want, but you know, in the long run we'd like to have a nice, clear, clean pipe, but it is what it is. Again, heavy root growth right here. It'll take a bit. I'll have to turn on a bunch of water in the house just to get enough flow where I can kind of surf over the top of whatever obstruction this is, whether it's roots or an offset in the clay pipe. But you can see up ahead how I would say probably 2/3 or more of the pipe is covered with roots. So in the written report, the obvious first step is going to be to have the pipe cleaned, cabled out. What we want to do is we want to just obviously clear the roots out, but we want to get visibility on as much of the pipe as we can, just to make sure that there's not any damage, cracked sections, deteriorated sections. We want to take a look at the PVC section that's been put in, making sure that that's still intact and there's not any issues there. And finally, we want to just make sure that we can get water flowing freely through the pipe. So at this point, what I'm doing is just waiting for the water that I turned on to make it down the 90 feet that we're at right here. It's starting to build up right here. Once I do that, I'll be able to get past this point, but then we'll stop probably another 7 or 8 feet beyond this. Give it a little bit. All right, so here I did get past that little spots. Now you see the root growth right there. This is as far as I'm going to be able to get. I'll work at this again. Turn on a bunch of water in the house. I wasn't able to turn on any of the water upstairs, just for the simple fact that the clean out access point was on the vertical part of that main sewer line. So obviously if I turn the water on upstairs and it flows down that pipe, it's going to get all over everything. So the only thing that I was able to turn on was the sink in the bathroom downstairs, the shower in the bathroom, and then flush the toilet. So tried that for a good 3 or 4 minutes. I'm not going to get past this, so I'll keep the camera rolling as I pull back eventually in another minute or two. Feel free to watch the return trip, but follow the recommendations on the reports and suggestions for next steps.